Hi, everyone. This is Avery Peel, host of the Hope Matrix on Campus podcast. We are here to share the science, strategies, and stories for how to hope. I am the Community Hope Specialist at the Shine Hope Company, and Shine is the mnemonic for how we teach hope. So when we talk about hope, we talk about the stress skills, happiness habits, inspired actions, nourishing networks, and eliminating challenges, which are the thinking patterns that get in the way of our ability to hope. Hope is a skill. You can measure hope, you can teach hope, and you can start practicing skills to activate higher hope in your life today. And on this Hope Matrix on Campus podcast, we aim to bring in guests, experts in science, people with stories, and those that have strategies for activating hope in your life. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Hope Matrix on Campus. I'm so excited to be here today with Emily Brisben. Hi, Emily.
Hi, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited for this.
Me too. Thank you so much for coming back. I don't know if any of y'all listened to her other podcast, but she was on talking to me about majors and minors. And so if you have any questions about that, go back and listen to that one. She was super insightful. And today we're going to be talking a little bit more about her personal journey and about her mom. So, Emily, do you want to get into it?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. So I'm here today to tell you the story of my life and my mother's life. Ever since my mom was 18, she was diagnosed with depression, and it was a constant battle for her. She Not a lot of people realized that she dealt with depression because she lit up every single room she walked into, and she was always cracking jokes and being the center of attention and making every single person laugh. So when what happened to her did happen, everyone was very shocked and surprised. So a few months into my seventh grade year, she went to the doctor and they changed her medication, which she had been prescribed the same SSRIs since she was 18. And at 45, they decided to change it. And that's when her depression really took a turn for the worst. She became very paralyzed. She would be crying all the time. She couldn't think straight. She stopped functioning. She stopped functioning as a person and as my mother. And no part of me ever has held that against her. But it was very hard being 13 and coming home from school and seeing her cry, or having to tell people she was in Florida, but in reality, she was in and out of mental hospitals. So it was a very hard time, especially at such a young age, to deal with seeing my mother like that. And my mom and I were very close. One time during her major depressive episode, she sat me down and she told me I was the only one who understood her because I was the only other one in the house with depression. And she had known that her whole life, or my whole life. Um, she always knew I struggled like her. And so we became very close. She advocated a lot for my mental health. And I advocated a lot for hers. And then at the end of my seventh grade year, she ended up taking her own life, unfortunately, which, like I said before, came as a shock to everyone because she was always seen as so happy and so funny, and no one expected that to happen. But in reality, like, no one ever expects that to happen. Um, so yeah, it had a major impact on our community, our church community, our school. She was a substitute teacher, so a lot of students were really impacted by this. A lot of my friends knew her well. And even today, her story still is something I like to tell to bring awareness to the fact that this does happen. And it can happen to literally any single person in the world, which is very scary. But being aware of the signs and making sure that the people you love are the most important part of it.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for sharing this story with us.
Of course.
I know it's very personal, and I'm very grateful to you for being open and honest and wanting to educate others. I really think that that is so important. And I'm so glad that you share my viewpoints on that.
Thank you for allowing me to be here to be able to talk about my mom and my story. All I've ever wanted is to make an impact and a difference with what I went through and what my mom went through so that this we can try to make this never happen again to someone.
Absolutely. And I think that a lot of people can benefit from hearing your story, not only just from learning about it, but also learning how to get through it if they've experienced something similar. I would like to know how you dealt with this and how it's affected you and kind of, I mean, like, I think that it's really great that you and your mom could be allies in a way and advocate for each other. And how did that, how did it affect you? I mean, how did that situation lead you to where you are today?
So I've always known from a young age that I felt very deeply and for other people, for animals, for the earth, for literally whatever. And I knew I wanted to help some form of life somehow my whole entire life. And when my mom passed away, it kind of solidified exactly what I wanted to do. Obviously, I'm not lucky at all in the fact that my mom passed away, but I'm lucky in the fact that I took her death and I've been making something out of it. I'm currently applying to grad school and I'm eventually going to have a focus in grief and bereavement counseling, which has been something that I've been through, obviously, and been so passionate about. And like, I'm just so excited to be able to take something so horrible like the death of my mom and be able to help other people with it and help other people's lives. Um, right after my mom passed away, it was really hard for me. I would wake up with a lot of nightmares and I would have these anxious behaviors that I couldn't explain. I really did not understand myself at all. And when I went to college, I knew I wanted to be a psychology major, and I started taking classes on the human brain and realizing that my behaviors and my psychological state were due to the trauma I had experienced, and it wasn't a normal thing. So the end of freshman year of college, I ended up getting diagnosed with PTSD, which my therapist and I had talked about for a long time, but she couldn't diagnose it. And I finally found someone, well, not finally, I got my psychiatrist did, and it really changed how I viewed my own brain and my mental illness because I realized that I need to cut myself some slack and realize my triggers, how I can deal with them, what behaviors I need to fix, what habits I need to fix in order to live the life that I want to live. And I just really dove into understanding myself, because most of my life I've always wanted to understand other people. But I think focusing on myself for the first few years of college and really trying to understand why I do certain things, why I think certain ways, like attachment styles and the way that trauma affects your brain, like it's just been so eye-opening and so interesting. And I've been so thankful for the fact that I learn about this stuff for school and I can use it in my everyday life. So I think understanding my mental illness and how to deal with it has made a huge difference in not only my grieving process, but my day-to-day life.
Wow. Yeah. I know. I first just want to say, don't you love how college teaches you so much about yourself? Like,
Yes, it's literally insane. Like I've never grown up like this. Like I don't know, I just
right?
feel like in the past few years I've learned like things in class and I'll be like, wait, this reminds me of myself, or like this reminds me of my mom. And then it just makes me understand a whole new side of things.
Yeah, you're like, oh my gosh, that's why I did that. That makes so
Hmm.
much sense. I love astrology. It's so interesting.
It's so interesting. I'm like, I did not realize how interesting it would be because honestly, I feel like I kind of went into it. Obviously, I knew I wanted to help people, but when I went into it, it was more like I was focused on um like myself and my trauma and the bad things that have happened to me. And yeah, I've began to understand myself more throughout college, but I think that also I've began to understand other people and realizing that, which this sounds kind of selfish, but I always kind of would before college be like, oh, well, I've been through this, so they shouldn't be this way to me. They shouldn't act this way. Like, kind of insinuating that, like, what I've been through is worse than others. And I think throughout college, I really realized that every single person has their own unique experiences, and one isn't the end all be all. And there's so many different aspects of it than there's so many different aspects to psychology rather than just like the depression and suicide that I've faced. So it's been really interesting and eye-opening to be able to see the experiences of other people and like work with them.
Definitely. It's really hard not to compare yourself to others.
Hmm.
And it's really hard because, I mean, you feel like this horrible pit in your stomach from what you've been through. And it's hard to imagine that other people can't see that, but they can't. And I mean, to somebody who hasn't had something so horrible happen to them, they might have a pit in their stomach over, I don't know, like wrecking their car.
Hmm.
Even though like maybe nobody was hurt or their car can be fixed, but like that might have been the most traumatic thing that's happened to them. And so to them, that's horrible. And
Hmm.
it's not that it's not. I mean, obviously car wrecks are horrible, but it's hard not to compare situations. And I understand. I go through similar things of having to tell myself like their situation is horrible and I can't compare myself to them because it's not the same.
Hmm.
And we're different people and we experience things differently, but I'm really, really impressed by the way that you handled your diagnosis. Because I think that a lot of people think a diagnosis is like a life sentence. And I think
Hmm.
we've talked about this before, but you took it and learned how you can work with yourself and learned how you can better yourself through your diagnosis. Like getting diagnosed almost helped you.
Hmm. I definitely think that it helped me. It made me feel like I wasn't crazy. Like there was actual science to back up the feelings that I've been feeling for years and just having to cope, just deal with them. But being able to have a diagnosis and like truly understand the effects of PTSD on the brain. And of course, people have been through worse trauma than me and have more intense PTSD. But being able to understand my own and do the things in order to prevent it and figure that all out, I would not be able to figure out how to prevent it or cope with my mental illness if I did not get diagnosed because I felt like I was kind of pushing it to the back burner and being like, whatever, I'm just crazy and I'm dramatic and I'm making things up. But in reality, that wasn't the case. And I think really understanding it and like sitting with myself and really being like, you know what? There is something wrong with me, but it's not something I can't try and fix. So I think that's been a very important thing that I've held true the past few years is that just because there's something wrong with my brain doesn't mean that there's something actually wrong with me. I can fix it. I can try at least. And sometimes you're just dealt the wrong cards, and that's just how life goes. But being able to warp it into something positive is what keeps you going.
Definitely. And that is so, I mean, it's so impressive. Like, I can't describe how incredible you are.
Thank you so much. Stop. I love you, Avery. Stop.
I love
I'm
you
blushing.
too. Of course. I mean, like, you have been through something that is so traumatic. And I feel like every time I talk to you, I'm like, I need to be more like you. Like, you are so insightful. You're taking something so horrible and using it to better other people's lives.
Thank you so much. That's like my only goal in life. Like, truly.
Well, that is like an amazing goal to have. Truly, truly, I'm so impressed by you every time I talk to you.
Thank you so much. I literally am impressed by you. I feel like you're so smart and put together. I'm like, I want to be you.
You know, everybody always thinks everybody else has it together, but I promise you,
True. But look at us. Like we don't have anything together.
exactly. But here we are trying to make a difference, and that is
Mhm.
what matters.
Yes, that's very true.
So let's talk a little bit about the stress skills that you used. And this can be like in high school or in college, but stress skills stress skills help you in such an immense way and they're so so important because I mean your brain goes through this whole stress response in 90 seconds and for 90 seconds you literally cannot think straight. Like what you do in your stress response and what you do to help with your stress is so important. And I mean, this can literally be anything from like going on a walk to journaling. But what things did you do to help you whenever you were feeling angry or sad?
I think after my mom passed, I would kind of wallow in it. Like I've told you before, I think we've talked about this, and I would nap a lot and just sleep it away. That was my number one stress skill, which I was totally abusing that skill and making it like part of my everyday life and like sleeping for hours. But I really just wanted to avoid my thoughts and feelings. And I think that throughout the years, I started journaling, and I'm not very religious, but I do pray to my mom because I know my mom existed, and that's something that I've always had a hard time with religion. So I know that I can pray to her, and that's always been something that's been very, very beneficial. I'll like be like, "Oh, can you please send me a sign if everything will be okay?" And I'll walk downstairs, and there'll be a ladybug on the window, and it's like the weirdest, like little things like that. But I think throughout the years I've noticed that napping was just my escape. So being able to journal and praying to my mom and talking to my mom has really helped. And then also in the past few years, I've really tried to do things very intentionally. Like if I'm writing like my to-do list for the day, like I make sure that I know exactly what I want to do. Like I'm just very mindful about the things that I'm doing in my day-to-day life now. At least I try to be. It's very hard to stay mindful a lot of the times, but yeah, that's a big one. Pausing and breathing and stretch breaks are also something that I try to do every single day. I have the worst time doing them, getting into the habit of it. But one habit that I have loved for the past like 6 months is getting like an ice pack from the freezer and being able to like put it on your head or hold it in your hands. And I do that consistently throughout the day, even when I'm not in stressful situations, because then it reminds me to just be grounded, be there in my body, feel the temperature, feel the cold. And then when I am in those stressful situations, I can go grab my little ice pack and I'm more likely to remember because I've made it a habit every single day. And I continue to just like hold these little ice packs and it calms me down. So that's been a really big one, especially like in grounding. That has saved me so many times.
Definitely. And it's really great that you practice it throughout the day too to help you remember. I
Yeah,
feel like
that
I've never thought of that before.
Yeah, that's the only like way I'll remember to do it during stressful situations is like if I consistently do it throughout the day.
Yeah. No, I mean, here I am like teaching this stuff, and I feel like I learned so much from you and from the others that I interview on podcasts. Like, y'all tell me stuff that I have never heard of before, and like, it's truly beneficial. And
Mm-hmm.
I need to go write this down. I'm taking notes. Like, I'm gonna try this stuff.
You should try it. You should get an ice pack. They're so nice.
I want to. I'm gonna get one of those things that goes over my head.
You should. Just put it on whenever. A lot of the time I'll like just wake up and like hold it or like before I go to bed, I'll like have it. I don't know. It's just like trying to add it in every single day reminds me when I'm like having a panic attack and I'll be like, "Oh my God, I need my ice." Like I gotta go get it.
Well, it's really good that you do it throughout the day to keep yourself grounded and reminded of it. Because I
Yes.
feel like there are so many stress skills that whenever you get into a stressful situation, you're like, I don't know what to do right now. Which of these stressors is going to help me the best? What I don't even remember what they are. Like, I can't
Mhm.
think straight. Like, it's hard in the moment to think of what's going to ground you. And so practicing it throughout the day, throughout the week, even like, even if it's once a week and not every day,
Mhm.
but practicing it, having a ritual is so important and so beneficial to remembering it when you actually are in that stressful situation.
Mhm. I agree. Or else I won't remember it because when I'm in a panicked situation, my emotions versus my logic is like so strong. Like I have no logic. Like I'm just straight anxiety, depression, crying, like being a mess. So I can never think fully. And if I continue to do it every single day, then I'll be like, oh, I remember. I know exactly what I need to do now.
Yeah, no, it's so hard to think whenever you are in that state. Like, I swear every single time I get stressed out or anxious or anything, like, I just can't think,
I know, neither can I.
which there is science to back that up. Like, it is
I
legit.
I know. The brain is so stressful. Like,
I
can it just
know.
be calm?
I know, like, can we just be quiet? Can we quiet down? Wouldn't
I
that
guess
be
that's why we're
nice?
studying psychology, but still.
I know. But naps are beneficial in that way too. Like, I
Hmm.
understand what you were saying about how you were using it as avoidance, which it's really, I mean, I keep saying I'm impressed with you. It's really impressive that you recognize that and that you stopped doing that and changed your stress goal to something else because you knew that you were actually avoiding the feelings that you needed to feel.
Hmm.
Wallowing isn't bad either.
I agree. But I was wallowing way too much and just feeling so bad for myself and being like, oh, I'll never amount to anything. I'll always feel this way. I'll always feel depressed. And then, like, studying psychology, I was like, wait, actually, I can use coping mechanisms and little things throughout my day to day to help me, which has been like crazy. Like, just little tiny things that you do throughout the day that can just shift your whole mood and your whole mind is like, it's crazy that I get to learn about that in class.
Yeah, no, I love psychology. I was a psychology major too, and it is truly like it's really interesting. And I do want to use it to help other people, but it is also so insightful to hear about all of the things that I can do to better myself in order to help others.
I know. It's so crazy that there's so many different things you can do to help someone's mind.
Yeah, but like you have to focus on yourself first. You can't help others if you're thinking horrible thoughts about yourself.
I agree with that 100%. Always prioritize your mental health and then you can help others because your mental health is like at the center of it all. That's literally who you are and that's how you think.
Absolutely. And it's really, really important to recognize the stress skills that help you and the stress skills that are just helping you avoid things.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I use naps all the time too. But I feel like sometimes I almost can't sleep because I'm too anxious thinking about something else. And that's kind of like my reminder to be like, I'm probably anxious because I didn't do something I was supposed to do. I probably
Hmm.
should be taking a nap and avoiding that. I should probably just go do it and then I can rest later.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those things where you have to think like, do I need this? Do I need to sleep?
Yeah. Are you tired or are you just trying to avoid your thoughts and feelings, which is hard to distinguish because a lot of the times my thoughts and feelings make me truly exhausted. Like I could run 6 miles rather than have to deal with a panic attack
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it takes all this energy out of you and you're in this fight or flight mode and it's messing with your nervous system. And so sometimes you do need to nap and to rest and to feel good, but you have to be able to distinguish if it's making you feel good or if it's honestly just making you feel worse. And that's totally what it was doing for me for a while. I still nap though. Like I'm not gonna bash on naps because I take a nap all the time, but I just make sure that it's not an avoidance nap. It's a restful nap instead.
It's something to help you clear your mind rather to avoid something that you should be thinking about.
Yes, I agree with that 100%.
And it's important to feel your feelings. I mean, using naps as avoidance is ultimately just bad all around
Mhm.
because those feelings are still going to be there when you wake up. And I mean, I know you know this, but for all the listeners out there, feeling your feelings is not a bad thing. Cry when you need to cry. If you're angry, if you're sad, if you're happy, like feel your feelings because they're all important. We shouldn't ignore negative feelings just because they're negative. We can do something about them and we can make them better. And we can learn to understand why we're feeling negative, and then we can do something to prevent negative thoughts.
Yes, which is the whole point of everything mental health related. And it's crazy
Exactly.
that that can actually, you can like do things to shift your mind from a panic state or an anxious state to calm and content.
Exactly. Well, let's get off of stress for a second and talk about happiness habits and talk about how we can stay in our upstairs brain. So, happiness habits are literally just things that keep you happy. They keep you thinking logically, they keep you using your frontal lobe, and we can do these things every day or once a week, but you do these things because it's important. It's important to stay in your upstairs brain. It's important to think logically. And when you can't think logically, I mean, who knows what you're going to do? So, what happiness habits do you use to keep you in your upstairs brain?
One main, like my overarching thing is obviously my goals, which kind of goes into inspired actions, but happiness habits wise, having just a clear purpose in my life. And like I said before, I've gotten lucky enough to be able to understand my purpose and my calling in life. Um, and I think being able to just look at that and try constantly to better myself in my career and realizing that I need to fix myself before I can attempt to fix other people has been something that really has helped me throughout my day to day, is keeping in mind that I do have this overall goal and I will reach it, but I have to do little tiny things every single day to make sure that I can fulfill that goal. So obviously one of the biggest ones was, like we said before, taking classes on the human brain. It allows me to grow, it allows me to help other people grow and just really understand it all together. But a couple other things I do is we talked about this on the last podcast when I drink my little coffee in the morning in my cute
Yes.
mug. That is my favorite thing to do, and it just helps me clear my mind. It's another thing with the temperature, how the ice can calm you down. Drinking coffee or tea or hot lemon water or something can also calm your nervous system and your body down and really bring you into place. So drinking my little cup of coffee every single day has changed my life. Like I love it. It doesn't even have to be coffee. Like I've done broth, like bone broth, and I'll just sit and drink it.
Does
Um,
that taste good?
yeah, it tastes like just like broth for chicken soup.
Oh my
I
gosh.
like it. I do it when I'm like, it's really good for you too. I'll just do it when I'm
I
not in the
need to
mood for
try
like
that.
caffeine or something sweet or something. Like that's been a really good one. And then another thing that I love to do is just like art in general. I'm not the best at art at all. But like I love air dry clay. I'm always doing little ceramic things, painting. I have like a paint by numbers thing, sewing, everything like that. Like I just keeping your hands busy while your mind is going through the day and just thinking about things is something that really helps me feel grounded, and I like to implement that throughout my life when I can. And that's been a big habit of mine, especially when I'm home. I have a hard time doing that at school, but when I'm home, it's really nice to like be able to just do a little art project or sew a little bit or something to keep my hands busy and like my mind can just kind of unravel.
Absolutely. No, I love doing things like that, like little artsy crafts things. Like I just painted a banner for my friend's birthday and I'm like, okay, can I do another one? Like
That's so cute. I love those.
it was fun. Like I genuinely enjoyed doing it.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's hard to find time. Obviously, like arts and crafts sometimes take a lot of time unless
Yeah.
you just make like a little friendship bracelet with some beads and
Hmm. Which I totally have beads. And one thing I do during therapy all the time is my therapist and I will literally like whip out the beads and make bracelets with
oh
like
my
little cute
God.
things on them. That's a big thing my therapist and I do. Or like angel numbers. It just keeps you busy and it keeps you talking and it keeps your mind from like spiraling, I feel, at least for me.
No, that's so fun.
I love it.
Love that your therapist has something like that to like help you talk. Because I
Yeah, she does it with all of her, like a lot of her clients, and she said it's been very beneficial, like just with her clients who won't talk. She'll be like, okay, do you want to make a bracelet? And they'll just start, and then they just start talking.
that is so cool.
It's awesome.
Something that I want to do like when I become a therapist.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna implement that in my practice for sure. I also
I,
have watercolor pens. that you can like you paint with these pens and then you like use a water brush and you can like make it like all blend together. And so that's what I'm gonna have in my office when I'm older too. Because I'm
Oh
like,
my gosh,
they're
that's
just
so
so cute and it's not just like a normal like pen or anything. Like you can just do whatever you want. Like little things
yeah.
like that, it helps in therapy so much because it gets the client talking. And obviously I don't have experience with a one-on-one client yet, but everything I've heard and like everyone I've worked with so far has been like, yeah, if you keep their hands busy, I feel like it just helps you get your words out. It helps you clear your mind and focus on something else rather than like the horribleness that you're about to talk about.
Yeah, it's almost like sometimes if you're focusing too much on your thoughts, then you just can't
You
get
get
them out.
jumbled. That's how
Yeah,
I always say it. It's just I always feel like my brain is jumbled like this.
like in a knot. It's
Yeah,
all in a knot. And I have no clue how to unravel it.
right. I think you just start, I think talking, like that's one of the big things. And like if you can't talk, being able to do like a little art while doing it is just so like it just gets your mind off of it. I love it.
Absolutely. No, I think that's a great idea. And I think it's great. And also, if you, I don't know if you have like an age range that you want to have in your practice.
I'm not sure yet. I'm still figuring that out.
Well, if you want to do like college students, or if you just end up doing like having some as clients, then I mean, that could be like part of their stress skill too. Like, I mean, arts and crafts, like we just talked about, it's kind of hard to find time for that when you're in school. Like, obviously,
Mm.
you're so busy with school and being social and having a life and working. If you work, like, it's hard to find time just to
Hmm.
do some arts and crafts and color on a coloring sheet. But if you have an hour a week in counseling, then
Yeah.
coloring.
Yeah. It helps so much. It's awesome. I
I
love
like
it.
that idea. I think that's amazing.
It's awesome. It's just stinks because I feel like I never have time for it at school. But when I'm home, I for sure like I probably do a different art thing every single day. And I'm just like doing the most random stuff.
I know. It's almost just like even like when you are home, you're still so busy because there are so many people you haven't seen like
Hmm.
at college and
And it's like you need a break and stuff. It'll be
yeah,
nice when I live at home and like have a little more time to be able to do it, but I guess we'll see.
definitely. Well, let's start talking about some of your inspired actions. And I know that we kind of touched on it, but we know your goal is to become a therapist, a counselor. So let's talk about all of the steps that you're taking to get there. And I mean, like micro goals, mini goals. Have you had to re-goal at any point because you felt like a goal is too big?
Yeah,
Tell us
for
about
sure. So obviously, it's good to have both big and small goals. My overarching goal is to be a therapist. But my small goals change every single day. And one big thing that I try and allow myself to do is like, if I don't get a goal done that day, just move it on to the next day and don't stress about it. Don't beat yourself up over it because even just finishing one goal throughout the day can really help you and realizing what's of importance, what you need to finish first, and what you can move on to the next day if you're not feeling well enough to do it. I think that's really important to be able to distinguish that. Um, but with micro goals that I've had to change, I guess this isn't even just a micro goal, this is like a major goal, was I honestly freaked out a few months ago because I was like, I don't think I can go to grad school. I don't think I have the mental capacity to be able to sit in a class. The social aspect of it, I have my friends, and that's not saying I don't want more friends, but it's saying that I don't want to sit in a class and be worried about who's looking at me, who's there. Like, I'm very in my head about this stuff. So I sat with myself and I was thinking maybe I should take a gap year, but instead I've decided to do an online program. And so that was really hard because I looked down on online programs a lot, but with all the research I've done, it literally like will look the same on my resume, especially if I'm actually engaged in the class and understanding what we're learning. But I think I had a, I, oh, excuse me. I would have a better time learning in a setting where I'm by myself rather than like a social setting. And it felt like a setback to me in the moment. But I think when I really thought about it, I was doing what's best for me, and it's not going to inhibit my full on future goal. But I did have to shift a goal of mine, which was hard in the moment, but I'm actually very thankful that I have.
Definitely. It's really hard to re-goal, and especially when like you've been focused on something for so long. And I feel like every time I talk to you, you're like, I have never wavered. This is in my goal forever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard when you get close to reaching that goal and then you're like, I think I'm gonna have to change it. It's not
Yeah.
you're not gonna reach your overarching goal. It's just that the steps to get there sometimes have to change.
Yeah. And like, I truly think that's what I have to do for my mental health. And I never really realized it until I really sat with myself and I was like, what do I want to do? And what's the best way I can get there for not only my career, but like for me?
Absolutely. Because just like we talked about earlier, I feel like I'm going to repeat this 100 more times throughout the rest of this podcast. But it is so, so important to understand yourself and know yourself and better yourself before you can help other people. I mean,
Hmm.
you can't help others if you don't know how to help yourself.
I agree with that 100%. And understanding moments of anxiety and moments of how your mental health is acting can really just change your overall goals, and understanding yourself fully is something that is so important, but almost so impossible to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. And trying to re-goal after having this goal for so long, and like that's really inspiring. It's really hard to do that.
Yeah, it's scary too because it kind of feels like a step back, but in reality it's not always a step back, it's just a different path.
Yeah, and you're just doing what's best for you, which is ultimately the best thing that you can do.
Mhm. I agree.
So, on the social aspect of things, let's talk about your nourishing networks. And your nourishing network is anybody who is there for you, who you can talk to. I mean, it can be your therapist, it can be your dad, it can be your college roommates, but it's anybody who's helped you through something, anybody who you've leaned on and how they've helped you.
So, like I said before, I have a therapist. I've been seeing her for, I think, a little over 4 years, and I see her once a week, and she is the best person in the whole entire world. She has become my nourishing network, not only through the past 4 years, but I felt like I've seen myself grow through working with her and really understanding what she's trying to teach me in therapy and allowing myself to be fully open and honest with her has really changed my life. And honestly, it took me like 2 years to truly be like open and honest with her. And I've gotten lucky enough to have such an amazing therapist where like now I can talk to her and it feels like I'm just talking to myself. Like I can just say whatever I want, judgment free, and she'll help me through it. So finding a great therapist is one of the best nourishing networks. I'm a big fan of therapy. I think everyone should be in therapy, but it is very hard to find a good one. So I did get lucky with that. But besides my therapist, I have three sisters, so I think the three of us lean on each other a lot, because we've all been through such similar things. And I also have two cousins that I'm super close to, that were obviously close with my mom, so I like to lean on them for support. Those are some big ones. And then when I got to college, I've always had a hard time with friends. I just judge myself a lot and it ruins friendships. Like that's truly what it is. I never try and do anything, but it's my own mental craziness, not craziness, my own mental, you
Block.
know, block. Yeah. Cut out that I said craziness because I don't even like using that word.
Okay.
So it's like my own mental block, and um I just have a hard time finding friends. But when I went to college, I've truly found some like amazing real friends who have shown me what like raw, real friendships are, what it feels like to have someone constantly support you and love you and not view you as competition or someone you need to do like a social climbing type of thing. Like I think it's been very different my college experience because I went from being so worried about what other people thought of me to having friends that I could know would always support me and always love me. And they have truly allowed me to grow in the past 4 years. Just being able to have someone who's gonna be there for you no matter what, judgment free, and will look after you and make sure you're okay first is something that is so important. And it took me so long to find really good friends like that. And I'm really glad that I have.
That's incredible. I'm glad. I feel like college is just such a whole different world than high school is. And like, it's almost like not that you don't want to be friends with your same friends from high school, but that making new ones and deciding who you want to tell your story to rather than just having friends I already know because
Mm-hmm.
it's been there your whole life. It's just, it's a whole different type of experience and a whole different type of knowing yourself and trusting yourself and understanding yourself and what you want to share to who. Because ultimately, like, you can go off to college and tell everybody that you're a completely different person.
Yeah.
They won't know.
I know, and that's what's crazy about it. I felt like everyone from my hometown knew, like I said, like my mom was a substitute teacher, so a lot of people were affected by my mom's death. And I've kind of all throughout high school, I felt like I was kind of the girl with the dead mom. Like that sounds horrible, but that's how a lot of people knew me because I'm so open about it. But I got to college and not everyone knew that. So I got to just kind of shape myself and who I am and then add my mom's story into it, not revolve my life around her, which has been like the major shift that I've seen in myself throughout college.
That is amazing. And obviously, you'll always want her to be a part of your life.
Yes, 1000%. I mean, I love talking about her. I love spreading her story. But I think for the majority of my life, I've just kind of looked at it like this happened to me and this defines me. But in reality, I can define myself and just add that to the definition.
Exactly. I love the way that you worded that. I feel like a lot of people who go through loss, myself included, it becomes them. It is who they are now. And like my whole family is the family who lost their son.
Hmm.
And so it's hard to go home. Like we don't even go to church anymore because we don't want everybody there to be like, "How are you today?"
Yeah.
And while it's really kind, it's just like, "Oh my gosh, like don't bring it up. Like we're at church. I just want to love God." Like
Yeah, like you're your own person and yeah, something horrible happened, but that doesn't make you who you are as a person. It can
exactly.
aid in how you live your life, but it doesn't define you at all. And I think that's something that I've had to really work on and try and understand for myself.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that that's I mean, it's something that everybody should look at and think about what events have happened in your life that you choose to let define you because the things that happen to you is not who you are. It's just what's happened. So, how are you going to grow from this? How are you going to define yourself? And you
I
can
agree
choose your
100%.
definition.
Which is so like that was mind blowing when I like it kind of clicked in my head and I was like, wait, I can like actually be my own totally own person and still integrate something so important to me in my life.
Exactly. Exactly. I love that. And I love the way that you worded it. And I truly, truly, truly think that everybody needs to listen to this and hear it and actually use the words that you're saying.
Thank you. I'm like hoping someone does. I'm like really I just want to help even if it's just one person. I just want someone to be able to hear my mom's story and my story and understand that not everything bad ends up terrible. You can try and make something good out of it. Of course, the bad never, or the good never outweighs the bad. That's never going to happen. I would do anything for my mom to still be here, but there's nothing I can do about it besides try and work for what I believe in and help as many people as I can.
Yeah. And there will always be challenges to it. And life isn't perfect. It's definitely not easy.
Mhm.
And this brings me right into eliminating challenges. And I mean, you're always going to face challenges in life, no matter how big, how small. I mean, it could be a challenge as small as not being able to find a parking spot for the loss of a loved one. I mean, there are so many things that people face, and we experience things different ways. And one of the reasons that I like doing this podcast is because I feel like having people share their stories, share their experiences, and share how they overcame them can help somebody else overcome a challenge that they might be going through. Whether it's similar or completely different, you have provided us with so many different ways, different stress skills, happiness habits, inspired actions. Like, you have showed us so many different ways to overcome such a horrible thing that happened to you. And so I truly, truly think that even if somebody does listen to this and like maybe it doesn't necessarily apply to them right now, it can
Mhm.
help them in some way with something completely different
Mhm.
because you have
Because
provided
everyone's
a
going through
way.
sorry. You say that?
Oh,
I said because everyone's going through different things, and hearing
exactly.
other people's stories can help you understand yours better.
Exactly. So, eliminating challenges, this is all about like rumination and automatic negative thoughts and how we can prevent those things. And so, I know we kind of talked about wallowing a little bit earlier
Mhm.
and napping to avoid.
Mhm.
So, these are things that we can use skills to eliminate. And avoidance, it's a challenge. I mean, truly, like it might not be listed out on everything, but it is hard not to avoid the hard things.
Mhm.
Like nobody wants to face their challenges.
Yeah.
But learning how to do that and learning the best ways that work best for you. I mean, obviously, everybody has different things that work better for them. So, what are the ways that you eliminate the challenges in your life?
A big thing I have, that I struggle with is rumination and worry. I'm constantly replaying old things in my head, how things could be different. And I think one skill that I've really picked up in the past few years is like when one of those thoughts come into my head, I immediately like start listing three things that I'm thankful for or that make me happy. Um, and I just kind of try and shift the mindset because for me, it's so hard to get out of that worried mindset. It takes honestly like hours unless I like have something to distract me. So shifting it into something positive has really been helping me a lot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what else. Sorry, you can cut this part out. I'm just trying to think of what else I could do because for some reason I didn't take notes on this. Okay, so I feel like a big challenge for me is rumination and worry. Usually when feel these thoughts and feelings coming on, I try and think of three positive things to like really shift my mindset from something negative to something positive. But sometimes if that doesn't work, a big thing that I love to do is go for a drive and listen to music at like full volume and sing all the lyrics and like focus on the music. Cause then I'm not focused on my own life or anything. I'm just kind of driving, keeping this music loud and like singing at the top of my lungs to kind of clear my mind. I feel like that's been something that I've done ever since I got my license, and I didn't realize how therapeutic it was until a few months ago when I didn't have my car and I was like, I feel like I'm going insane right now. I need to like drive around and like think about things and sing my music. So that's
Yeah.
been a huge one for me.
It's like just having that alone time in your car and just going nowhere
Mhm.
is so it's fun.
It is fun. And like honestly, it clears my mind. Like I feel like I can think about things because I'm it again with like how arts and crafts you can just like kind of think rather than have like jumbled thoughts. You can kind of just focus on something else while your train of thought is still going. That kind of happens for me when I'm driving too. Honestly, sometimes I'll turn the music off and like literally talk to myself in the car because I know no one can hear me.
Ew.
You talk to yourself too.
All the time. So bad.
No, I don't think it's bad. Like I'm like, whatever, no one can hear. So
Yeah,
might as
I would
well.
drive with like for like an hour and a half just talking to myself.
Yeah, me too. I'll just turn the
Like you
music off and be
said,
like, okay.
and your hands are busy.
Mhm.
This is like a full circle moment. Like it's all coming back to me. Like I did not even realize what I was doing until you just pointed it out. Like
Yeah.
your hands are busy and talking out loud helps you clear your mind. Oh my gosh.
hmm It's like a stream of consciousness that just like keeps going and you just have to like just say what you want without judgment.
And it's like one sentence just leads to a whole nother thought. And then you're like, oh yes. And I've been thinking about this for a long time. And then that just leads to another thing. And you get
hmm
so much out that it's just like freeing to have it out in
Yeah.
the open and out of your head. And like regardless of whether you're alone or not, it's like you can be talking to your mom. Like I talk to my brother, I talk to God.
hmm
Like I am just like talking to myself, but
Yeah.
usually directed to somebody up there.
Yeah. I literally like be like, Mom, like what the heck? Like why are you like giving me this hard time? Like why do I feel this way? And like get mad and like just say what I want and say what you need to say because no one's there to judge you.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, that was like a revelation. Everybody should
Awesome.
do that. It's so fun.
That's awesome.
And even like sometimes I do turn the music on just so like it's like even if somebody could hear me, nobody can hear me because
No
music
one knows. Yeah.
like I can't even hear myself because I have the music turned all the way up.
I do the same thing sometimes.
Oh my gosh, this is crazy.
That's awesome.
We're like, I feel like the more we talk, the more I'm like, are we the same?
I know we're so similar. I feel like we have like the most random things that we're just like, okay, that's weird. Why do we both do that?
Yeah. And like, okay, I know that we didn't really talk about this in this podcast, but in the last podcast, we talked about how you had like happy mugs
Oh
that
yeah,
like
I
drink your
know.
coffee or whatever out of in the morning.
hmm
I literally grabbed this mug because I was like, I knew I was doing a podcast with you today. So I grabbed this mug.
Oh, what does it say?
It's not that like cute or fun colors or whatever, but it says, I can't decide if I need a hug, a large coffee, or if I should just take a long nap.
I like that.
I was like, I
Because
feel like
that's how I wake up every single day.
exactly. Like, do I need to go back to sleep or do I
Do
just
I
need
need
to give
coffee?
me a hug? Like, I don't know.
I
Usually
love
it
that.
works, but
That's awesome.
I was like, I need to get a fun mug today. This is one of my favorite mugs because I just read it and I'm just like, word, so
I
true.
like that. I like that. I have one that says like "you are loved," which is a coin or a term we kind of coined for my mom, and we like made bracelets that say "you are loved." So I like drinking out of that one because it's just like I'm like, oh, I am loved. Like, look at this little mug; it's telling me.
Aw, I love that. I mean, like, even just the littlest reminder every day is so important. Like,
hmm
I mean, it doesn't have to be anything big. Like, it's
Yes, I have a bee mug that I use all the time because it just makes me happy. I'll be like, oh my gosh, like look how cute it is. Like I'll have such a good time drinking my coffee because it's so cute and I love it. It makes me happy.
yeah, you have to have a cute mug to have a coffee in the morning. I
hmm
fully
I agree 100%. Or else the coffee's not as good.
yes. Even the Go cups from Walmart are still like cute, like little funny sayings on them. Like one of them's like, don't talk to me. Like as the like level of the coffee goes down, it's like, don't talk to me. Not yet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, not yet. Okay, now.
I've just seen those. I love those. Little things like that. It's just that like goes into happiness habits too. It's like doing that consistently throughout the day and it's just like the smallest little tiny thing that can like make you smile.
Absolutely. And you need to have those things.
hmm
I mean, you need to have something to make you smile every day. Even
Yeah.
just smiling is a happiness habit
I
because
know.
it tricks your brain into thinking you're happy.
Which is crazy. Like I don't know how like that's insane.
Like I was like a little bit before we started this podcast, I was like tired, droopy,
Same.
like, I don't want to work today. But like we have been laughing so much. I'm like, wow, I'm like energized, ready to
I know
go.
I'm like ready for the day.
Yeah. Now I'm like, I can do this.
Yes, you can. You got this.
Laughter is so important. And I'm so glad that we could talk today. I feel like this time of the year is always just so stressful and
The holidays, especially if you've lost someone, it's just so hard to like go through it. Like the other day this was actually really cute. We put Christmas trees up by my mom and grandma's um graves and we like decorated them with my cousins. So that was something so fun that we did this holiday season that we've never done before that I
love
don't know, it made
that.
me feel really good about
And
myself and like my mom. I don't know. I just feel like we haven't done something like that in years and being able to was really nice.
it's like they're celebrating it with you.
Mhm.
Even though they're not there, they're there.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so sweet. I love that. Well, not to keep you too long.
No,
So, what are your final thoughts? What would you tell anybody who has gone through a similar situation, or just what would you teach somebody? What is the main thing that you want somebody to get out of this?
so if you're in a situation, first of all, if you are feeling suicidal, make sure you get help. It's not embarrassing to get help. It honestly is like one of the strongest things you can do is find your nourishing networks and finding people who will be able to help you. Um, but one major thing I really would like people to take away from this is bad things happen to everyone, and some are worse than others, some are the same. But taking what bad has happened to you and turning it into something good is something so powerful and can help you heal even when you're not realizing you're being healed.
Absolutely. Uh, I feel like every time you say something, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so smart. Like,
Oh my gosh, stop. That makes me so excited that someone thinks that.
I feel like you have truly taken the time to look inside yourself and think about the ways that you can learn from your experiences and the ways that you can be better. And using your mom's story and your story to help others is one of the strongest things that you could do.
Thank you so much. That's all I've ever wanted to do, and I really hope that this podcast helps someone, whether they're going through a similar situation or literally nothing at all. I hope that they can resonate with these words and use them.
I hope so too. It's my only goal.
It is my only goal too. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And thank you, listeners, for listening to the Hope Matrix on campus. Come back next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all for listening to the Hope Matrix on Campus podcast. I hope to have provided you with actionable insights and a framework that you can use to start activating higher hope in your life today. And don't forget that hope is measurable and teachable. This program is designed to assist you in learning about hope, but it should not be used for medical advice, counseling, or other health-related services. I, Fred, the Shine Hope Company, and myself, Avery Peel, do not endorse or provide any medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. I am not a medical doctor. The information provided here should not be used for the diagnosis or treatment of any medical condition and cannot be substituted for the advice of physicians, licensed professionals, or therapists who are familiar with your specific situation. Consult a licensed medical professional or call 911 if you're in need of immediate assistance, and be sure to know the crisis hotline 988 if you are in need of support. We are better with hope. Please feel free to check out theshinehopecompany.com, where we list all of our resources around how to hope. We have a lot of free programs for how to hope, including the 5-day challenge, our hope infographic with a lot of skills that showcase how to hope, and articles of how to incorporate hope in your life. We have the Hope Beat Weekly, which is a weekly newsletter that shares strategies for hope. We have my Shine Hope story template, so you can write your own Shine Hope story today. Also, my Shine Hope hero, so we can share what our heroes are doing to activate hope in our lives. And this is especially good with youth, so they can start looking up to people that have overcome similar challenges to them and seeing how these heroes use the Shine Hope framework. We have a Hopeful Minds for Teens program and Hopeful Minds Overview Educator Guides. We have a new evidence-based college course so you can activate hope on the college campus. There are programs in the workspace, overview courses, 90-minute courses for learning the what, why, and how to hope. What I want you to know about hope is it's a skill you've got to practice to become more hopeful. It's easy to fall into despair and helplessness when we deal with challenges in life, and it takes intentional work and practice to get to hope. And yet it is always possible. So no matter what life brings, keep shining hope. Thanks so much for listening and have an awesome day.